Well, we've got the Party National Spokesperson in studio with us, Pule Mabe, to discuss some of these issues and more. Good to have you, Pule. Thanks for making your way in.
Morning and morning to your viewers.
It must be, well, I mean, certainly we've been getting a real bird's eye view as to what is going on in KwaZulu-Natal at the moment and the devastation that has been caused by these floods. I mean, this must, you must look on in horror as well, knowing how strained KZN is already, and now to add this devastation to it. I mean, what's the party stance on this?
Well, Lian, we have issued a statement welcoming what the president would have pronounced, the declaration of a national state of disaster, but went on to outline what would be our program as the African National Congress. We also urged our government to also declare a national day of mourning, one which will be able to bring our people together, to consolidate all of the different solidarity efforts that NGOs, faith-based formations, and many other organizations, political formations as well, are driving to try and assist the people of KwaZulu-Natal. We in the ANC have ensured that all of our regional and provincial offices also serve as drop-off centers. And as a result, the Treasurer General of the African National Congress, Comrade Pule Mabe, will this Friday visit KwaZulu-Natal to go and really deliver some of what we have been able to receive in kind from many others who have heeded our call. The Progressive Business Forum of the African National Congress is also working to consolidate all efforts by business to try and assist the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Our deployees in government are also hard at work to make sure that the three-pronged intervention pronounced by the president is one that really resolves the problems and plight of those that could have been displaced. We have sent our condolences to those that have lost their loved ones, hence the call for a National Day of Mourning.
So what do you want to do on this National Day of Mourning?
Well, we believe that in different ways people could be able to really express their own, whether it's by way of prayer, whether it's by way of visiting all of those families. There could be a number of symbolic acts that South Africans in different parts of the country could be able to do to convey their own condolences, but to also show that we are much more stronger when we are united and standing together in times such as this.
I imagine South Africans, and particularly those affected by these floods, don't necessarily want a day of mourning. I think they want help, and that's what we've gathered, particularly from this morning. I mean, you see some of the areas that we visited in Pinetown. They are desperate to be relocated.
True.
They're desperate for help. There are people that are shouting out to us on social media saying nobody has been here yet, and there are still people that are trapped in houses. So I think a day of mourning perhaps now is not necessary. Help is necessary.
Well, it is necessary, Lian. We must acknowledge that we are quite a very compassionate people as South Africans. There is already help that government is already doing. There are funds that have been announced to have been allocated towards these relief efforts. Issues of human settlement are being attended to, fixing the infrastructure. What has been happening, and which is quite encouraging, is our own ministers now beginning to go out there and outline what they are going to be doing in their areas of work. If it's the Minister of Transport who's charged with the role of dealing with roads and all of that, they will then outline that together with their different agencies, Sanral and all of those, this is how they are going to be dealing with the road infrastructure that has been damaged. If it's human settlement, the minister in charge will also come and say, through a team of engineers, which is what the president really spoke to in his capacity as president of the Republic, what the African National Congress can do is to be able to booster and support those efforts by government and make sure that communities are also cooperative. And in areas where we have not reached, confirm to those people that our government is aware a program is being developed to make sure that no one is left behind. Now, when the ANC says, let's have this National Day of Mourning, part of it is to make sure that we do not leave anyone behind. I mean, through yourselves in the media, Lian, the exposés that you make of those areas in Pinetown, what you are also doing is you are also helping government to know what areas may also need to be touched, because government, the ANC, faith-based formations will not be able to do it alone. We need everyone. We need the media. We need the rest of society to be able to resolve. So it's commendable
Absolutely.
that the SABC has been able to also unearth some of those. So it is those issues that when they come up, we are then able to say, okay, in this area, this is a program. This is what the eThekwini municipality is doing to attend to that specific problem.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, that's our job. That's what we do as the media. We go out there and we show the devastation and try and help where we can. Your job as the ruling party, as members in government, is to use money and assist individuals the right way. However, the history of the party and the history of government is not very confident, or I should say that there's not too much confidence in the people of South Africa that that money that's been set aside is going to reach these victims. That is a very, very big concern. Surely as a party it's worrying to see how South Africans don't trust you, your colleagues, with this money, depicting you as almost like hyenas that are about to pounce on money and that you're going to get rich out of it.
Yes. Okay, Leon, let me just clarify one issue. I mean, there is the state and there is the party. So the party cannot use resources because the resources that the party has got to do with organizational work. What the party can do is to really call on its deployees in government and urge those that are responsible, a point we've made in our own statement. We've already spoken to our own caucuses at the national level, the chief whip, Comrade Pema Jodini, to make sure that they also engage with our own members of parliament so that they pay attention on what is expected of them as it relates to oversight, specifically around monitoring the use of resources that are allocated for these efforts. The same message has gone to our provincial legislatures. It has also gone to our local councils. Cillian, there's a story that is not being told here. It is not for the first time that KwaZulu-Natal, especially this year, is hit by a disaster. In January, they were dealing with almost a similar situation, but at a much more lower scale. Public funds were used, and none of those funds went to any form of leakage. They were all directed to efforts of assisting our people. There's a lot. I mean, when we picked up what would have happened with PPEs, under when we're trying to deal with cases of COVID-19. We then said there is a need to make sure that these systems are tightened so that those that are put in charge of such resources could act prudently, could be vigilant, and could be able to account for each and every cent meant to assist our people.
So are you saying that these systems have now been tightened?
Systems have been tightened.
And you're absolutely confident that this money is going to go to the intended purpose of helping the victims in these floods?
We are quite confident. Our comrades who are in government understand fully well that the misuse of resources is one area that undermine the confidence of our people in the ANC-led government. So it cannot continue to be business as usual. Certain things ought to change. Those that are found to be in the wrong, undermining what we are supposed to be doing to help our people, including undermining the very confidence that the African National Congress government is expected to enjoy amongst those that it leads, have got to be acted upon. And systems that are put in place are such that you will be able to isolate any form of wrongdoing. I'm giving a simple case study with KwaZulu-Natal. Just early this year, the reason we do not know about it, Leon, and the reason it never reached your headlines is because there was no issue. Funds that were appropriated for that purpose were effectively directed to that. I think what we need to be doing more as the African National Congress is to also come and talk about the positives, the things that we are doing to make sure that
with pleasure.
To make sure that
we would love to. Do you know what that would do for the South African morale? Because it is hard to trust the ANC. It is. I'm telling you. I mean, this is the sentiment outside, and you're agreeing with me. I mean, your guests that come on the program that are members of the ANC, that are members of your MECs, are also saying the same thing. They are worried. People are worried that this money is not going to reach the intended beneficiaries, and that there already is political infighting within the province of KwaZulu-Natal in your own party, and people are worrying that you look surprised.
Yes, I am surprised, Leanne.
You are surprised that there are problems in KZN?
Well, I would be surprised with what you characterized as political infighting. I mean, in our other responsibilities, we're also deployed to that province.
Yeah.
When cadres of the ANC are moving towards their regional and ultimately provincial conferences, that cannot be characterized as political infighting. It's a normal democratic process that happens in the ANC towards conferences. Cadres will contest each other.
I'm even moving further back. I mean, let's go back to July last year, where we saw what happened in KwaZulu-Natal. This is a big problem, and the talk about the RET fighting against other factions within the ANC and problems with that, this is another conversation. However, I don't think we can focus on that, but to try and say that there is stability within the ANC and KwaZulu-Natal is a problem. And another problem, and I bring this up because this is how South Africans feel. You then get somebody re-elected into a position, and I know you're going to talk to me about a step-aside rule, but how does somebody that has corruption charges hanging over their head get re-elected into a position, and then you have to worry about stepping aside and worrying about these allegations? This is the exact thing that people are worried about. Charges of corruption. It is corruption happening in the province that is now going to be in charge of all this money that's meant to help people, but these are the history that they come from.
Well, Leanne, the people on whose behalf you are now speaking are not worried about electing individuals who are charged in other parties or people who have got a history of being previously convicted in other parties. What we should be careful of is that we must never attempt to create different rules for ANC members. ANC members are South Africans. Their rights are protected by the very constitution that protect any other person. That the ANC has made these big pronouncements on how it really seeks to drive renewal and organize itself better to really consolidate that bond that it has got with society, does not really mean that the ANC has begun defining itself outside the laws of the Republic. When you are charged, you remain innocent until proven otherwise. That is what is written in the Constitution. When the ANC developed guidelines on stepping aside, it did not say, through these guidelines, we are finding those who are charged guilty. That is not the role or responsibility of the African National Congress. It put these guidelines to allow its cadres who could be facing serious charges the space and time to deal with those. But the ANC doesn't say, while you are dealing with this, you are guilty. But the narrative I'm finding out there is that we are being made, as the African National Congress, to declare cadres of the movement who are charged with serious crimes guilty of those, and their job now is to prove themselves innocent. The same is not being done with other political parties. You see, the ANC contest the space. Tomorrow we could wake up like we are now in Joburg. A different party is leading Johannesburg. Are we now going to be blaming the ANC when there are problems at JRA, when a different political organization is... So when parties contest these elections, they must take the very responsibility that the African National Congress is expected to take. And our appeal to ourselves in the media is that treat the ANC the same way you treat all other parties, because these parties are registered political parties.
Absolutely.
They get an allocation from national fiscus. They too have got to act in a response. So, but very often what we want from the ANC is different. We know that much more could be expected from us because of what South Africans expect from the African National Congress, and because of our own history of driving forward the National Liberation Project.
You know, we've come out of a pandemic, and we've come out of a time where money that was meant to be given to hospitals, to PPEs, to scandals, was disappeared. It was plundered. It had all went exactly the same way that you're talking about. Now you're trying to tell me that there's innocence. I know.
But you know why? But you know why you know? But you know why you know that money could have been plundered?
Yeah.
Because of institutions established by the ANC-led government. It was those institutions that are doing investigations. Why don't you say, give us a pat at the back?
Seriously,
no.
You are defending the defense.
I'm not defending it. I'm saying if these institutions that we have set up were not doing that work, you are not going to know, Leanne. The reason you are knowing is not because...
So we must be grateful that there are institutions that can investigate the fact that there is corruption. And that means that you're a good government.
Well, it's not that means we're an accountable government. We're an answerable government. The fact that we are able to unearth these things and then say, where there is a road, action must be taken. You see, Leanne, there's no longer a need now to defend staff. We don't have to defend staff. These things play themselves out there. out in the national media, on television, in the newspapers and all of that. What we should be saying is to commend our law enforcement agencies and encourage them to act with the necessary speed on acts of malfeasance so that their own actions could work to booster the confidence of our people in institutions of state. Because the ANC is not elected in power to stay at
I have to disagree with you, but I think unfortunately we have to wrap this. It's a big problem. I know we were meant to chat earlier, but traffic got in your way, so we couldn't get here. But the reality is, Pule, we want service delivery. We don't want to be commending the SAPS or law institutions for finding people stealing money guilty or for letting us know the story. That's not what we want to be commending. We want to be commending the fact that I give you money and it's spent in the right place.
Yes, I agree
not because
with you,
that people investigate you and find you guilty. That's not what I want to commend you for. So let's hope this money goes in. We're watching very, very closely. And I think this will be a telling moment for the ruling party.
True. You must create a special monetized Mourning Live to say, okay, today R1 billion was declared or appropriated, went out. So much is going to housing. And then speak to housing. Housing, we understand that we are going to be getting 200 million. What are you going to be doing with this? And then allow them to come here. Now you have opened your space. They can come to studio. They don't need to be with you on Zoom. Come and explain so that they begin accounting like that as we move along. We don't have to wait up until the end and allow people to account. Let's allow them to account as we begin. That we now know that so many people are displaced, so many people have lost their lives, so much of road infrastructure has been destroyed, so much of private infrastructure has been destroyed, roads, hospitals and all of that. How much? Say to them, you, Minister so-and-so, how much of these monies are you going to be allocating towards this relief? And what kind of process are we going to be using to make sure that these funds do not leak into wrong hands?
All right, Pule, I have to leave it there. ANC National Spokesperson Pule Mabe, thanks so much for talking to us here in the program.
No, thanks.
We have to take a quick break. We've got another interview after this. Do stay tuned.